StreamYard tells me it is showtime. Welcome into Season 3 of the CarrGuy SixFan show. Thanks, everybody, for jumping in and coming and finding us. We have some big plans, lots of things to announce here for Season 3. So we are excited to tell you about that. But before we do, if this is maybe your first time, I am your host tonight, straight SixFan, Grant Tommy. I am SixFan of this operation. But over on this side of the screen, we have the co-host, who is...
My name is Jason, and I am the car guy of the CarrGuy SixFan show. Guys, welcome to the channel. Welcome to Grant's channel, because he is hosting this week. Next week, it will be on my channel, where we're going to have some different things coming up for you guys on Season 3. So welcome to the premiere episode of Season 3 of the CarrGuy
SixFan show.
There you go.
So yes, if you guys have been vigilantly watching Jason's videos, you know he's kind of teased a time or two about Season 3's format will be different than what you have come to expect from Seasons 1 and 2. And while that may have been overselling it just a little bit, there is some truth to that, and we'll get into the nitty-gritty on what that is, because tonight's episode might not look anything different than what you're used to, other than we think we have internet issues finally figured out, and it's not going to be a shaky stream for once. A knock on wood down here on my desk. But no. So Jason and I, as we sort of started to talk about it, and you know, we want this show to be bigger than what it's ever been, for one. But we kind of wanted to go back to our roots, and the reason we started this was to help everybody grow in and around our community, build the community, make it bigger. And so with that, the main focus for Season 3 is going to be more heavily weighted to the growth side of things. Like, we are still going to talk cars. We always will every episode. But we probably will start to shift the amount we talk about cars to a little less, and the amount of growing you guys here on YouTube to a little more. So with that, I kind of want to turn it over to Jason. He's kind of going to take us through a little more detail how that maybe manifests itself.
Yeah, so one of the things that we wanted to do in Season 2, which, because Season 2 was kind of so ill-prepared for the change in which we lost Google Hangouts, we struggled just to have the show, let alone put together a base, whatever you want to call it, to entertain you guys and to help everything that we wanted to do. So for Season 3, one of the things that we wanted to push out there was having some more guests as guests of the show, not guest hosts specifically, but people that we can talk to, people that we can interview, see what's working for them on their channels that may be able to help you guys grow on yours, as well as introduce new people to new people. That is kind of what we're here for, as somewhat of a support stream, so that if you guys are in the chat, this is a good time to talk about that. Almost everybody that's in the chat right now has a channel. So go check them out, see if it's something you like. If it is, watch their stuff, subscribe to their channels, be a part of that support stream, and then that way everybody kind of gets a little bit of benefit of that. So Season 3 is going to focus on having guests as part of our live stream. So each month, Grant and I are going to have a guest on one of our episodes. So 2 shows a month are going to consist of having guests. So next week we do have a big guest coming on. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I will tease that in Instagram. He may even show up here tonight. But nevertheless, that's one of the big formats that we wanted to share with you guys as some of the things that we wanted to change for Season 3. Grant, is there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, actually, we may... in a given month, we may have more than 2 guests. The way we are trying to structure it actually right at the moment, and scheduling's, Jason and I are early in the scheduling side of things here, but as tonight is what we're calling a legacy episode, the traditional format, our hope is to go 1 legacy episode followed by 2 interviews, back to a legacy, back to 2. So it's kind of a 1 on, 2 off, or however you want to say it, 2 on, 1 off kind of a thing. So that way you can kind of anticipate format maybe a little bit. But since it is a legacy episode, and we will do this every episode anyway, we've kind of forgot that we like to take note of who has taken the time to join us here early in the show. And this is the time to remind you guys the thumbs up really help, as well as if you could just take a moment, maybe do the old right click or maybe touch on your smartphone, that little triangle looking thing, and share the link, because we do want to get as many people in here as possible. But with that, I wanted to welcome into the chat the Miniac, Drive Shaft Drew, Impact's Garage and Gaming, American Bumper to Bumper, Rust Belt Mechanic, the Recovering Scott's Speed Shop, Eric Stenberg, and I think there's one or two maybe. I know Art Cricket's in here as well. And Jason, if I've missed anybody, help bail me out.
Yeah, I was going through as you were saying them, thinking that we got them all. And guys, if we did not say your name, go ahead and just leave a hi in the chat. That way we can acknowledge you and make sure that everybody else knows that you're here.
So now that we've laid out a little bit of what to expect for Season 3, we'll continue on with that traditional format, talking cars. And one of the things Jason and I wanted tonight to be about, as well as Season 3, is, again, we're talking about growth, and we want to energize you guys, because you may have noticed if you watch both of our channels, Jason and I both did some kind of 2020 goals and expectations videos for our channel. Jason's got a video he wants to talk about in a little more detail kind of further on in this show. But also, that brings us to our car topic, actually, that we thought was fairly closely related, in the fact that you guys may have heard by now, but what was previously Peterson's, which I think turned into Primedia, which then I think turned into the Enthusiast Network, the parent companies that bought out those conglomerate car magazine companies, is basically killing off 19 of 22 magazine titles. As we all know, this has been a long time in the making, but print media is on its way out due to the digital age in which we live. And if you follow Think Media like I do here on YouTube, they'll tell you that studies show 85% of all internet traffic coming up in the next 2 years is expected to be video. So let that sink in for a second. That's all web traffic. Everything on that World Wide Web is going to be a video of some sort.
Exactly. So there's no secret that I'm 10 years older than Grant is. So we go back to when I was a teenager. I could not wait to get that renewal subscription for Hot Rod Magazine, Inside NASCAR, and all those different types of magazines that came out. And those were great gift ideas. Those are gifts for me from my parents. Sometimes was to get those magazines, and it was like, I'll be honest. I did not have dirty magazines under my pillow in my bedroom. I had car magazines, and my dad was very happy about that. So knowing that things like Hot Rod Magazine, which is probably the biggest one, which has been around forever, is still a magazine. However, they now have their own network. They have their own TV shows. They have everything kind of on demand, so that they're getting away from flipping through the pages, and the centerfolds that you could pick out and hang on your wall of Lamborghinis or hot rods or whatever you had. That it's all going away. And just like regular TV, just recently, my wife and I canceled our cable subscription, and we are solely using Netflix and Amazon Prime and YouTube, paying quite a bit less per month. So everybody is going to that digital age where entertainment is coming in the form of video, like Grant said, and it is something that is that's slowly going by the wayside.
And so with that, if that's not enough to, and by the way, so Jason mentioned Hot Rod Magazine, Motor Trend, and I forget the third one that's sticking around. But again, we're talking about, magazines with history as long as the Corvette, basically, even longer in some instances. I'm happy, I'm happy they kept the Hot Rod Magazine, because I can't imagine a world without Hot Rod Magazine. However, I think they could have, because Motor Trend to me now, they've let that brand be the parent for all the video content. I think they could have killed the magazine Motor Trend and kept a different publication around, because they're doing so well with the brand from the video standpoint. I think they kind of missed the mark there. But the point of us bringing this up as a topic tonight, guys, is that we are at the point in history where there's no better time to where now you as creators, all of us as automotive creators, they have just conceded the market to us. So it's on us to go out and grab a share of that market now as automotive creators. Now is the time to put your effort in and to become a better you as a YouTuber.
Yeah, and just to top that off, as one thing that I wanted to mention as a part of that is the automotive segment in YouTube, believe it or not, is one of the smallest. So we aren't just, having the opportunity to grow that segment like crazy. But with that dozen people or so that are in here watching right now that have channels, the world is your oyster. Go out there, choose something to create it. And there's no better time than now to help grow that automotive uh, genre on YouTube. Uh, that is the perfect segue into our next topic on the agenda, which is channel growth and growth hacks and struggles. If you haven't seen the video that came out today on my channel, it's the 5 things that work for me to help you grow your automotive YouTube channel, and it talks about everything, uh, from collaborations to just being you and getting on board to one of the fastest growing parts of YouTube, which is the automotive segment that there's not very many of us out there doing. Despite all the stuff that we watch, we think it's endless. It is literally one of the smallest sections or segments on YouTube.
Yeah, and I know Impact's I was trying to respond to him in the chat by typing out my answer, but I'll just say it now. He said, he has a lot of fun tips and content to share. He says the problem is, or the struggle is, making the content worth watching and entertaining that is so difficult. And I certainly agree. I mean, I think we all struggle with that. I mean, I don't know any one of us is like, oh, I totally got we're not natural born entertainers. But we're just trying to kind of share our hobby. And, that's why you got to keep at it, though. You can't just say, well, man, I mean, it's a struggle. I mean, I thought my welder up video was going to be a pretty good one. I always look at the first 48-hour stats because that seems to always indicate whether it's going to take off or not. And I got to be honest, I'm pretty disappointed. And even though I thought that I did a pretty good job with the format, that's not going to stop me from making that next video. And it doesn't mean that I do actually think it is. Oh, I think it's going to rank well in search over time. So I think people will find it. I'm pretty confident in that. And so it doesn't mean that 3 months down the road, it's like all of a sudden it not blows up, but I get a spike and kind of watch, like, because people start finding it and it becomes suggested video. So totally hear you, Impacts. Jason, look like you want to say something there too.
Well, I did because you and I had talked about this before we went live, is that some people are just simply scared to get in front of the camera. And no one says you got to get in front of the camera to have a great, successful YouTube channel. And one of the examples that I used was Chris Fix. Obviously, I'm sure all of you guys know who he is, but if you don't, go find him. About 5 or 6 years ago, or maybe even more than that, probably 7 years ago, he started out as a do-it-yourself mechanical type upgrade things on your car channel, shade tree mechanic, so to speak. Never once has he shown his face on his channel, and he's well over 5 million subscribers now. So if you find something that allows, or that you find that you have a lot of knowledge on, and it impacts, I know that you have a lot of knowledge because you have left storybooks in my comments on things that I've done that are so full of information that it really that information needs to go into a video as far as I'm concerned. So I think that you've got the knowledge, I think you've got the tips, and if you don't want to be on camera, that's one thing, but get the information out there, because there's guys like me who need it, who want it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one.
Well, so to be honest with you guys, I mean, Jason and I are really almost pretty much done with our our agenda for tonight. So we want to open the show up to you guys and make it more about you. What are kind of some of the biggest struggles you're dealing with at the moment with your content creation is one of the things we want to ask you. But catching up in the chat, it was some people were commenting on my welder up tour video, and it sounded like some people were like really like the part where Steve Darnell started up the John Deere Model A. If you're not following him on Instagram, he's a great Instagram follow. His stories, he drove that thing down the strip to go get coffee at Starbucks on purpose. So that was pretty awesome. So kind of wrap your head around that. But back on the magazine discussion, I know Kip was kind of agreeing with you, Jason. Historically, magazines were he had always at least 3 or 4 subscriptions going at a time. I myself, I mean, a lot of the reason why I want to produce the content, I want to produce the offbeat hot rodding. It's basically a byproduct of having a subscription to CarCraft when David Freiberger was the editor from circa 1999 to like 2002, 2003. That was, I mean, that's me. That's basically how a lot of my opinions or tastes were formed, was watching him, you know, see how much nitrous inline 6 Maverick could handle and sending it down the quarter mile, so things like that. But Jason, anything in the chat that kind of tickled your fancy?
Well, I see Benny jumped in there, Classic Ride Society, and he says the automotive section of YouTube might be smaller because people playing with cars can get a bit expensive. And that is one of the points that I made in my video that went out today was, you know, you can have a project, doesn't have to be a car, but whatever your project is doesn't have to be expensive. You know, like a great example of that is the Rat Rod radio flyer that Grant had done, and I'm sure he's got a huge playlist on that. That if you're if you're great at
Maybe a little too big
at doing your own projects and working with your hands and know how to use tools and a little bit of ingenuity there, you can create something out of nothing. And I said it in my video, if there's a vehicle out there, whether it's a go-kart or whether it's a car, a truck, a motorcycle, there's an audience for that. The Small Engine Nation group is a huge group of people who are into lawnmower engines and stuff like that are making go-karts and fast buggies and whatever they're doing with them. So it doesn't have to be a car. Just whatever you're passionate about, whatever that project is. I've suggested to my wife several times, she's a huge crocheter, so she does a lot of projects, and there's people out there that want to see that. Me personally, well, I see it all night long. She's sitting over there doing it right now. So, you know, when it comes to people who want to learn how to crochet, maybe there's an opportunity for her there. But when it comes to guys like me who want to see more and see how vehicles are done and learn how to weld and learn how to, you know, different techniques with welding, I go out and I find guys who are teaching that stuff. And if you know how to do it, well, again, you might be feeding my mind as well.
Well, and to your point, Jason, it's maybe not about the I think the lens of some of the comments we're seeing in the chat is thinking that the project has to be so significant and something that's like a world beater. I mean, look, yes, we all know like some of the channels that are rebuilding the Copart, like Lambos and things. Yeah. Of course, they're going to have huge channels, but it's more about like some of the highest performing videos out there are like the Chris Fix ones. It's really more about how to do a simple one thing that might be routine maintenance. And yes, maybe everybody's beat you to the punch, but like when I started searching for lifted Jeep Liberty videos before I lifted mine, there were only like probably less than 10 good ones out there. So I knew I was going to actually, like, you'd be surprised like what still hasn't been tapped, what kind of markets haven't been tapped. So I did want to say a special welcome to Stupid Fast Truck for jumping in, as well as the Idle Garage here kind of midstream. Welcome to the show, guys. We're Jason and I have kind of run through the agenda about as fast as we have in a long time. So again, if you guys want to kind of be part of the kickoff here for season 3 and let us know what you think for 2020 are going to be some of your biggest challenges, struggles, or maybe even goals, throw those in the chat. We'd love to hear from you guys.
Yeah, and I see that the Miniac has made a comment, just as long as it's not a Scottie Kilmer video. So on that note, I have got a notepad at work of things that I am going to parody a Scottie Kilmer video. And I tell you what, you certainly aren't going to miss it because it is going to be wild. I am going to put him to shame, and I hope that everybody who feels the same way that I do about Scottie Kilmer and some of his opinions we'll jump on board that too. But
do you have a voice? They're doing it all wrong.
Yes, I do. I'm not going to give it away tonight, but okay. Nevertheless, you know, I can't just I don't know if I can talk fast enough with my hands because he's just so, you know, wild and his hands are always going on the camera.
And how close do you get to the camera? Like...
Yeah, exactly. I can get right up there and look at you if you want me to. Anyways, yeah, rev up your engine. So that's the whole idea behind YouTube is, yes, there's a lot of guys out there, whether it's automotive, music, whatever it is, who are doing the same thing. You just got to do it different. You don't have to do it different to the point of changing who you are. Again, one of the tips that I made in that video that went out this morning is be you, because people who, if you're not being you, people watching you will understand and see right through it. They'll know you're being fake. They'll know that it's not the real Jason or Grant behind that camera or in front of that camera putting on a video. It's easier to be you. I try and be a little bit funny in my videos, um, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But I can't fake comedy for a video just to make it entertaining. So that's just not me. So people who watch me for me. If I'm going to do it a little bit different than somebody else, well, that's fine. But don't fake it. And I think that Scottie Kilmer in real life likely is as energetic as he is on camera. Otherwise, his channel wouldn't be so big. There's a lot of guys. In fact, I used to enjoy watching him, but now I just find him to be quite an ass. Anyways, that's my rant.
His thumbnails or his hot takes for the titles and thumbnails usually are enough to turn me off. I don't even. I mean, I haven't. There, he's got some good videos too. Like, let's be honest, he's got some good ones. But yeah, I'm just like, dude, I don't even care what your opinion is. I'm not gonna watch that. It's trash. But I did want to.
But again, define good, right? Like good as they were successful, they got millions of views, or good because he actually had a good point.
Well, it's like he had a pretty good video. Somebody shared the video of how to bleed your master cylinder while on the car, and I'm sure other people have the same video out there. It was like very condensed, and it got right to the point. That's what I mean by good. Like, I'm not gonna say I don't like his personality that much, but it did what it needed to for me. I just needed to watch that. But
yeah, so the Miniac had a question saying, how do you deal with folks who don't like the fact that you're being yourself? He got slammed like crazy in several Facebook groups recently for his YouTube channel. There's a couple of things that you got to learn, and I learned it real early on, is that assholes' opinions don't matter. So when it comes to that, you either take the choice and delete the comment, block it, whatever you want to do, but ignore it, because their opinion doesn't matter, right? I forget who said it. It might be Dr. Phil, who coins the phrase, "What other people think of you is none of your business." So just move on.
yeah, well, I would say I would weigh that against. I mean, if it was really eating at you, like, so tally up how many people that is. Three, if that's 7 people, and then the Miniac. I know your channel's like 4 times the size of mine, so if there's 7 out of 4,000 people that feel that way, screw them. Yep. I would worry more about the 3993 than the 7. So, what I wanted to try to touch on was some of the comments. I know Kip. He said his struggle or his challenge and the goal is one and the same, which is getting Zelda back on the road. So I would encourage you, Kip, to tell the chat a little bit more about what Zelda is for people who I know what that means. But others in the chat might not, so maybe they'll take some interest to your channel that way. But Eric Stenberg, you must be the triplet to the twins here between Jason and I, because you like the weird stuff like us. So we know you're in a safe place here. And definitely love it. But
yeah, he's one of those Mercury Cougar fans. I'm not sure why, but hey, who likes a Cordoba? Just me.
And
Scott Speed Shop says that he just started lashing out against his haters, and it seems to be working for him. And I would agree, because Judd's attitude on his videos is somewhat comic relief. And sometimes he can be comedic and insulting back, and it's funny. And that's one of the things that I enjoy about watching his videos, is that you never know what's going to come out of anybody's mouth at any given time.
I'm pretty cool that, Benny, you're going to try to focus a little more on your actual projects and share those with us. So we're excited to see what that is. I know you've got, man, shoot. I had it there for a second, but I remember what you're working on. But now
Third,
it's just
you have a third gen Camaro or something like that.
I was thinking it's more like a '60s. I don't know. Well, tell us because we're obviously on
Yeah,
the spot.
there you go.
We're not pulling it off. So, and
Well, and
it's
that's what we're here for, is to open up the chat for stuff like that. So
and Drew's Auto has just jumped in. And Drew, I know it's been a while since we've got a chance to chat with you, but welcome to the show. And I know you're never short on goals and aspirations, so feel free to tell us what's going on. And Jason, there's a comment in there for you
I see that. Yeah, the rich Corinthian leather. Yeah,
I love
from,
that. Great
from the
commercial.
small Chrysler.
Yeah, the small.
Yeah, mine's only 19 and a half feet. That's a small Chrysler.
Oh man.
Oh shoot. Yeah, so it's part of part of having this show is exactly what we're doing right now, is the interaction between some of these other channels, and finding out what their struggles are, and helping you get through those. Or if Grant and I don't have the answer and we can't help, we might be able to direct you to somebody that does. There's a lot of channels that we follow, like Think Media, Pusa Studios, Creator Fundamentals. These guys seem to have it down and know the rules of YouTube, and know uh, what generally works and doesn't work. And those are some of the things that Grant and I are using in our channels to help us move forward and help us grow. So we're just kind of that medium between them and you guys, because you guys may not follow them, but I encourage you to do so.
As well as, I mean, on top of that, they keep up on the stuff. They're always studying it, and so they're kind of the leading authorities on that. But with that, one other slight change we wanted to make to season 3 is let you guys know we do plan on going just a little bit longer every week. And so the new threshold, which used to be 30-minute show, we feel like we're kind of, as we're building this community, and especially when it comes to guests, it's always easy to go longer when we have guests. It's going to be a 35-minute show at the minimum moving forward. And so, again, feel free to throw comments in the chat. But before Jason and I kind of get to that stage where we start to close it out, we kind of like to talk about channel updates. And so, Jason, what can we expect coming down the pike from you coming up on your channel?
Well, as you guys all know, ever since the before Christmas, my channel took a little bit of a format change, so that it's kind of steered away from the dealership. I want to say a little bit, but pretty well all my videos have been not dealership videos. And there's been a few people in my comments asking about dealership updates, which was actually kind of strange. So I may be doing one video every so often, kind of just giving you guys an update of what's going on around the dealership, stuff like that. But what's coming up in the immediate future is Saturday's video is I've got one side of the truck painted. So cab corners, rocker panels, the patch on the fenders is done. They're all the body fills done, the prime, they're painted, and those on the passenger side is ready to go. This weekend I'll finish up on the driver's side, and then I'm going to tackle the drop kit, and that's probably the biggest part of this whole project that I'm looking forward to the most, is dropping that thing 6 inches in the rear, 4 in the front. So stay tuned for those videos. Grant, what have you got coming up on your channel besides a 4 lug swap on the Ford Fairmont? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
It's probably gonna be somewhat related to that, but I mean, to be honest, work's been crazy since after the new year, and I do think I'm gonna be maybe babysitting nieces and nephews on my Sunday, my normal work day. So I don't know. I've got a couple ideas what I think I'm going to tackle. I'm either going to pull the Fairmont in the garage and figure out how to where the speedometer gear is in the transmission, because I know I need to change that. And our guy, Project Lake for Bingo on Instagram, has some extra C4 gears laying around. So I need to figure out where I'm starting from before we can figure out like if what he has is the proper gear to put in. So it's either gonna be that, or of course I got a new brake booster for Project Blue Fairmont, and it's might be the start of me taking the brake system back apart. But we're scheduled for a pretty nasty snowstorm this Saturday, so I really don't know. But I did want to respond to Classic Ride Society's project car list. it was the 66 Buick wagon that I was trying to think of. I knew it was a 60s iron, but I almost said a Ford, and I was like, no, I don't think that's right. So I was trying to think of your 66 Buick wagon earlier.
And I was getting him confused with somebody else on the third gen Camaro project. So my bad. I apologize. But that's what happens when you watch too many car shows. I said it earlier that the automotive segment on YouTube is the smallest, but man, I must be subscribed to about 30 or 40 different guys that I try and watch on a regular basis. They all run together.
I don't know how you do that. But Eric asked me a question if I would ever trade our EcoBoost Mustang for a Mustang GT. So trick question. I'm not going to say never, but it's paid off, and we had it paid off in 6 months. And honestly, it's a fine car for what it's 30 miles to the gallon. I have no reason to ever think about trading that in the immediate future. I prefer just to buy cars with as much cash as possible whenever I can, and we just like to run our cars, put miles on them and start over. It's about a 4 or 5 year cycle for us. So
yeah. So on that note too, for those of you who don't know, an EcoBoost Mustang, correct me if I'm wrong, Grant, has 310 horsepower, and here I am struggling to get 250 on my Chrysler Cordoba in it with a V8. So is a V8 Mustang fun to drive because of the sound and the power? Yeah, of course it is. But when you're getting 310 horsepower out of a 4-cylinder turbo car, that's nothing to sneeze at. So not only is he getting the economy, he's getting the fun factor out of it too. The only thing that I would change about that car, if I was going to own it, would be the manual transmission. But I know that your wife doesn't drive a manual, so that makes sense. But there's a fun factor in driving something bragging you've got 310 horsepower in a 4-cylinder car.
Yeah, it's a if I ever get a chance to do like a track day with it, they say that they are much better track cars, the V6 and the 4-cylinder, because they're not as nose heavy. They're a pretty well balanced car with the independent rear suspension. But yeah, Judd, first off, I wanted to tell you I did get your last text, and I just wanted to say, man, that's really freaking cool. So I wanted to personally tell you that as opposed to through the text machine. But hey, I'm all for doing a collab. And yeah, if Project Low Fairmont's done, I'd love to figure out how we could pair that against Jezebel so I can get slaughtered, I guess. It'll be fun regardless, but I mean, I hope your rear view mirror works really well in Jezebel, I guess.
Yeah, and Eric says that I should be putting a turbo or a supercharger on the old Cordoba. Well, one of the goals for 2020 on the Cordoba, it's not a very big thing, and there's not going to be very many projects likely on that car, just simply because of Dale and wanting to do what I want to do with it. Is I do want to upgrade the carburetor on that car. I learned a valuable lesson that a 600 CFM carburetor is capable of handling 600 CFM. And only that. So if your car needs more, you're only going to get 600. So I may end up upgrading to a 650, maybe even a 700 in some fashion or another. But yeah, I think there's a lot more power to be had there in that car. It just needs to breathe a little bit more. So that's the end of that.
And Jason, I'll let you close the show out here in a second. I did want to just touch base with the Miniac, who wants to do a collab as well. And yeah, actually, the Miniac, if you could help build some momentum with me in our Central States group as to helping to get a big local YouTuber hangout organized, I think that's going to pay dividends for everyone who can come. And I really want to, if we get 8, 9, 10 guys and, we can just go hang out. And we were talking about going to the World of Wheels, the car show, and maybe we could go find a bar to hang out, right before or right after or something. I think it could be a really positive time for everybody. So totally up for that. Jason, I know you don't want to give away next week's guest, but to kind of, since you were talking about Dale, is there any sort of teaser or any way you want to set up what everyone here should expect for next week's show with our guest?
Yeah, so
and take it away, by the way.
Yeah. So yeah, we're getting ready to close this out. So next week's guest is we do have a bigger channel that's going to be joining us. who deals in trucks. So I'm going to leave it at that as your teaser for next week, and it's going to be something that I'm going to be teasing on my Instagram. If you're not following me over there, please do so. And we want to thank everybody who jumped in here. I'm not sure what the numbers get up to. I think right now we're sitting on something like a dozen people in the chat. So if you were here tonight, thank you so much for the season premiere, for being here for the season premiere of season 3. And we will be next week on my channel with our very special guest. So I hope you join us at 7 o'clock Central, 8 Eastern, 9 my time. I'm the only one in my time zone. So anyway, thanks for that, guys. We'll leave you with stay focused on the windshield, not the rearview mirror. We'll see you next week.